So with GenAI, there's a number of different models available. We've been just using one of them, but we also have some of the ones from Meta as well available to us. So it gives you an opportunity to check out which model actually works best for your particular type of scenario. So in this case, we're going to stick with the Cohere one. And there's also a number of different example input text that you can actually use from kind of generating a job description and stuff like that. But where this becomes really useful is that when we click on this button here, which is view code, it gives us basically the template code or the actual code that we need to use to be able to run this model. So when we look at this, the default it comes up with is with Java, but it's also available in Python, TypeScript, and also with, say, LangChain format and the structure there. So in this particular case, we're just going to take the Python case, and there's the template code for you. Now, in most cases, this will actually work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that code, and what I'm going to do then is I'm going to open up a Jupyter notebook. Which we see here. And what I have here is, okay, I have a kind of pre-prepared some stuff, but I have an empty cell here, and I'm just going to run the code. Now, in this particular case, it should generate an error for us, and the reason for that because it hasn't included the correct compartment ID. So what I need to do is I just need to kind of correct that. So let me just replace the compartment ID. It will work. So this is where we get to see what has been kind of generated. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take that kind of default text of generate a job description for a data visualization expert using the following three kind of qualifications, and we kind of give some details on it. So we would have seen the same output being produced within the tool, but here we get to see is here's the response, the JSON response that is generated by our LLM that we're actually using. So we have kind of the history always there kind of on it, but we also have the response on it. So as we can see, it's like a lot of that code is kind of copy and paste, you know, and it should work. You know, you might need to update your compartment, but you know, after that, it's exactly the same. Now what I have here is exactly the same code, but what I have is I've just added in a few extra statements to do with, you know, what are the different kind of questions that you could ask. Another thing that you can also do is looking at the preamble. All right, so this is where you can actually tell it or give some guidance to the model. What kind of response do you want? So do you want to be like a comedian? Do you want to be like formal academic type format, or do you want your answer in a more kind of casual, friendly kind of format of it? So all I've done is just added these statements to it and just changed the chat message to it. So if we run that, we will be able to see that we get something similar. Where is it gone? There we go. And there we get the message coming back on it. Now, there's a lot of details in there, and a lot of it isn't necessarily very useful to what you want to do. So what we can do is we can parse that message to be able to display the details in something that's a little bit more kind of user-friendly kind of format for us. Okay. So here we go is, you know, here's the message that's actually returned, and being able to display that out. So we can see the different components of it, how it's laid out, and being able to present that in a lot more usable manner. All right. So there we've been able to show is being able to use that LLM that we've defined, being able to pass some contents to it, and being able to do lots of kind of queries on it. But this is where we can maybe kind of get into doing things in a little bit more kind of interesting way, where we can do kind of a little bit more of a live stream of different things from, hey, can you tell me a joke? Okay. Can you tell me another one? Right. So it's kind of, you know, it's a little bit of fun. We can do lots of kind of different things on it. But you know, hey, I live kind of in Dublin, so can you tell me the top 5 things to do as a tourist in Dublin, Ireland. And we can see things from visiting Dublin Castle, visit the home of the Guinness factory, walking through Temple Barrett, very kind of historic area, visiting Trinity College and the old library, which is kind of very famous, and so on. Right, and then we can kind of look at, well, what else can we do is, maybe we want to find out when was your model last updated. Right, so we can see that it's kind of going back to typically, or in kind of previous kind of examples of this, it kind of came up with January 2023. Okay, and then what is the most recent data you know about? Yeah, so we're getting kind of, it's coming up there about the January 2023. So, we can do it to do kind of lots of different things. So, for example, I'm just going to kind of, rather than typing out a long spaces, can you write me kind of an early retirement letter? So if I just kind of scroll back across there, say I'm a senior developer and I've decided to retire early, write an email to management and HR on this decision. The job has become very stressful, and without proper support, I cannot continue in this role. Write me an email for this. And what we get is, kind of a template email where we can just, tweak things to be able to help us to be able to do things in what we want to do. And maybe one final one on this, can you give me 5 bullet points on the best strategy for implementing GenAI? And there we get is, it's kind of useful information, but it can also be a bit generic. But kind of the thing about experimentation, the ethical and responsible use of it is really important. The data management of making sure you're conforming with all kind of legislations in your kind of company kind of cases for it. But, we can use it as a kind of more potential useful information. So that's an example of being able to use the GenAI. Now, we can take this code, it's a very short piece of code, and being able to implement it within various different applications, various different dashboards, create our own apps, make this as available as a tool across our entire organization to be able to help people to do a lot more on it. And we can build more sophisticated applications, by, integrating it in with some of our data. And what I'll do is, in another video, is show some examples of how you can do that.